in Canada, and it was all independent, and I edited everything myself. And then all of a sudden we were at MTV, moved to New York City. They brought us here. They had all these tapes, and they started re-editing everything and taking all the weird music out and putting in a Will Smith instrumental or something. And, you know, taking the, and they'd take all the, they you know, the first few months were very, you know, it was sort of, we had big arguments all the time with the executives, you know, which was kind of fun. I think it actually kind of makes it kind of more of a fun story now, you know, because
now it does,
you know, you had to actually fight to get a lot of that stuff on the air.
And what do they know about humor?
Yeah, well, you know, it was one of those things where they were sort of saying, "What do you know about television?" And I was saying, "Well, what do you know about what I'm doing here?"
Right, of course.
And you know, it sort of
it obviously worked. That's why I got your attention. So let me be let me be the funny creative guy, and you guys do whatever the fuck you do with your suits on.
But MTV had all these rules, right? So it was like, you know, we'd go out and we'd do all these stunts on the street, and then often, you know, the punchline would be the reaction shot of the people on the street. So we'd have sort of the old lady sort of, you know, looking with her wide eyes and and then they'd sort of say, well, take all those shots of all those old people out, you know? And it was like, well, we don't want anyone on the air who was over the age of, you know, 28 or something like that.
Wow.
You know? So I was like, well, that's the joke. That's the punchline.
That's the joke.
So, yeah. But,
God, I love when they hire you for something and then make you change what you did. Like, I've seen that happen too many times.
But, you know, for the most part, they came around. They came around, let us start doing more of what we wanted to do, and obviously it was pretty awesome that they put us on the air in the first place, so I'm not complaining or anything like that.
I've thought of you hundreds of times when you walk by anytime those outdoor little pools of water where there's like a little fountain and you went in with the fucking scuba gear.
Yeah.
What is funnier than a guy doing that? That's just like, what a funny thing to do.
That was scuba hood. That we called that. I'd go into the fountains and take the change, and then I'd bring it to the bank at the end of the segment. That was one of the early bits too. I mean, the fun thing about all those early ones is we were doing them, you know, we had no budget. It was me and my friends volunteering at the public access station, and you know, it's cool because all that stuff's on YouTube now, and when I do my live show, you know, it's sort of been a fun sort of you know, party for all of the fans of my website and the old show. You know, they come out and they shout out some of the bits, and I'll tell stories about it at the end of the show and stuff. So.
What's like the biggest jam up you got in trying to pull a stunt back in the old days, as they say? Cops involved or things like that?
Well, there was one that aired on MTV that a lot of people saw, that they talked about quite a bit, where a guy in Long Island here tried to attack me with a hammer. It was called Undercutter's Pizza. I dressed up as a pizza delivery guy, and we staked out a pizza shop. And then I followed the pizza guy to his delivery with I had a plain pizza and a tackle box with a bunch of toppings in it and stuff. And the idea was I was going to walk up and try to undercut his price, right?
What an ass!
And we thought the pizza guy was going to be the guy that got mad, but actually it was the guy whose house we were on, his property. He was this mechanic in Long Island. He was working on his car, and he just got real mad, and he started coming at me with a hammer and nearly killed me pretty much. I got detained at the Hoover Dam. I've never got arrested. Got detained at the Hoover Dam. We did this tour of the Hoover Dam where we planted our camera guy on the tour, and then I sort of went in separately as if I didn't know the camera guy, and basically just started saying, you know, every time he'd say anything, I'd say, "That sucks! That sucks!" And that was the bit. That's not that big. That sucks. And then
They got mad at you for that?
They got mad. I guess what happened was I swore. I said a bunch of did some swearing of some sort in the elevator, and they detained me for public indecency or something like that. And you know, and it turned out the Hoover Dam is a federal property, so it was you know, could have been they scared the crap out of me, because you know, I was new in America, and you know, I could have got thrown out of the country, right? So I figured, oh, here goes my big chance. You know, I get thrown out of the country in the first month I'm here.
Do you have more fans here or in Canada, would you say?
You know, it's kind of interesting because, you know, I did the show for like 7 years in Canada, but it was sort of very underground there. And so, you know, it's sort of about equal, but, you know, the MTV show never aired in Canada. They didn't have MTV at the time.
Right.
So,
they had their own
so in a way,
version.
it's kind of, it's about the same, but they're different. Like in Canada, they've got all the old, you know, raw guerrilla stuff that we did on VHS tapes that we released and all this stuff. So they're sort of into some of the weirder, stranger stuff up there. And here is more of a, you know, mainstream people that remember the MTV show.
Has the MTV show still never aired in Canada? It had to by this point, right?
You know, I don't know if it ever actually aired the actual show aired in Canada. It may have,
they have some different.
It may have gotten picked up by the Comedy Network in Canada. I can't remember, but it's sort of equal, but it is different. You know, it's funny. I was kind of wondering that myself because we're doing this tour and we're selling tickets to shows and hoping people will come to the show. So you don't know if anyone's going to come to the show. And we just did our first show in Edmonton and we did great and everybody sort of was yelling out these bits, these strange bits that I'd forgotten about.
Oh, wow.
And then. It's we've been doing good in the U.S. too. So.
Are you headlining or are you bringing a different? Oh,
no, go ahead.
Are you bringing different comics and hosting?
No, I'm headlining.
Okay.
I'm doing I'm doing an hour or so, and I have a comedian named Sean Halpin, who's a friend of mine who is touring with me. He goes on before, does 30 minutes, and we've been doing full weekends, and it's been actually just creatively, it's been the most exciting thing I've done in a long time. I'm just having so much fun doing it. There's no rules. You talk about the internet, how you don't have anybody telling you what to do. Stand up, you don't have anyone telling you what to do.
Yeah, true.
I get to talk about a lot of things that's sort of therapeutic in a way. I talk about making Freddie got fingered. I talk about some of the crazy things that have happened to me. I talk about getting testicular cancer. I have a lot of jokes about, it's a good thing about testicular cancer. It's good for great I've got a lot of good
great
material about,
great comedy
about
fodder.
my ball. A lot of stuff about my ball.
So how did you make that funny? That whole fucking ball cancer thing.
It was scary. It was a scary time, But it's kind of like when you ask what do we do to top the next bit,
Yeah.
And we'd just taken Monica Lewinsky to Ottawa because she was dating one of my writers on my show when we moved the show to L.A. And we thought this is kind of bizarre, We're in L.A. Monica Lewinsky's around. This is strange. Her brother was a fan of the show, and we figured, okay, well, let's see if we can get her to come wake up my parents in Ottawa at 4:00 in the morning without them knowing, and then take the media around. We thought, and we were done that bit. We thought, how are we going to ever top this? And I got testicular cancer, and we're like,
Jesus.
Oh, we got to film this.
There's a topper.
But it was.
Did you ever think it was a bad idea? I mean, at first you're like, well, of course I got to do something with this. But now you're filming it. Did it ever get to a point where you're like, oh, what am I doing? I don't want to be doing this.
Not really.
Cool.
I mean, I didn't immediately want to do it though. So I guess maybe before I decided to do it, I thought it was a bad idea. I just thought the whole idea of having testicular cancer was a bad idea.
Yeah, that's
but then as soon as we decided to do it, honestly, it was so scary that as soon as I started filming it and talking about it and making jokes about it, it really kind of
was time to think
took
about
the pressure off.
Yeah.
They took a testicle out, right? You lost a testicle. Do you have any recurrence, or did it come back, or is it gone?
No, it's completely gone. They had to take my lymph nodes out, so they cut me up here, took all the stuff out, and then they determined that I was completely cured of it at that point. I didn't have to have chemo, didn't have to have radiation, anything like that. If it had spread into the lymph nodes, then I would have had to have chemo.
Did they take them as a precaution?
Yeah, as a precaution. They did an MRI to see if there was anything in there. They couldn't tell. So they said the only way to know for sure is to go in and do a sample. So I elected to do that, and I'm fine. So it's been 8 years.
No problem.
That was one that was so hard to watch. I got woozy. I got so woozy. I can't take anything like that. I'm like, oh. And I'm watching, and then when they just showed the surgery, I was like, I can't watch, man.
Yeah, man, it was
fainting.
That was, talk about an out-of-body experience, because I remember getting the footage from that, where they, gutted me, essentially.
Yeah.
Took my intestines out, set them on the... And I remember just sitting there watching this sort of 4-hour surgery, as they made the initial incision, and then put these clamps in and pull my body apart.
Now, were you out, or was it a local?
Oh, yeah.
A little propofol?
Yeah. I was out for that one. So.
Tom, everyone wants to talk to you.
Awesome.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Let me start with Paul in New York. Paul, what's going on? We got Tom Green, TomGreen.com, and Tom's going to be at Comics here in New York City Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week.
This weekend, yes.
Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey.
Tom, you're the fucking funniest dude I've ever seen. There's two of my favorite bits you ever did was... One, you picked up the intercom at a mall or at the store, pissing off the security guards. And the other one is, how the hell did you get your grandmother to bake a cake by mixing it with a vibrator?
Yeah, it's just